All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, July 17th, 2023. If you're not done so already, like the content, please give me a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. Markets here floating higher. Spiders up 0.5%. Qs, again, just getting a free 1%. On the back of mainly Apple getting a huge bid here, up about 2% on the day. You see NVIDIA there, actually flattish, but Apple getting an upgrade here from Morgan Stanley. This is the type of action that we come to expect from an options X week. Remember, Friday is options expiration for the month of June. Lots of upgrades, lots of downgrades. Speaking of downgrades, AT&T 30-year low on this. This is actually starting to get a little attractive. Going all the way down into this, big buy zone. We got to go back all the way to, 96 that we were down here, and then 97 is basically the level we're touching right now. So 30 years essentially on AT&T, Verizon. These guys got downgraded again. So this is the type of price action you expect, and these things are already really beaten up, so getting a little attractive here, if I'm being honest. A lot of these defensive stocks have been beaten up, and if we do head into a recession, which I do think is going to happen, these are kind of the names that you want to look to own, the defensive names. Healthcare also on the weaker side. Some of those stocks are getting attractive as well. But again, you get those upgrades and downgrades. Markets are completely asleep right now. And, when they are, you want to give them a neutral to upside bias. Take a look at the volume, 38 million shares, and we close in 11 minutes. So to put that in perspective, this is the July 4th holiday, half day, and we're barely above that. So 32 million versus 38, and this is a full day. So market's trading like it's a holiday. We also have earnings coming up. Tesla, Netflix, some big ones. Tesla kind of coming into this wedge here, getting really tight. We did push above that trend line there, and then you are coming into a 618 as well. Right at 295. There's a lot of gamma at 300 too. So some levels to watch there on Tesla. Flix is holding up okay. Nothing really terrible there. I don't really see any problems. You have a big weekly sell bar there, so that there may be some supply in that. But again, that's then there's your 500 level from that gap down. But either way, markets are kind of asleep here. We do have some economic data, I think, and then again, earnings and OPEX. So today, tomorrow, maybe a little bit on the quieter side. Markets are still really stretched here in the short term, like some of these oscillators here. I mean, you look at that. I talked about this Friday, but look at that 4-hour RSI. And if we go to, we roll the tape back a little bit, you can see the last time we were this stretch was February. And we did have to do some backing and filling. We're down about 1,100 points there. But, it's like, look at how ridiculous this is. It's like 70 is a support level now for the NQ on the 4-hour. So a little stretch. I think if you gap up tomorrow, you could see some fading. Typically with OPEX week, if you're up big the first 2 days, the rule of thumb is around Wednesday, you kind of want to look for some type of a fade, and vice versa. If you're down big, usually you kind of look for a reversal around Wednesday. But either way, we have earnings, so that could get thrown around here. So just be careful trading that right now. Spiders here, also a point of interest, 450 and 4,500. Obviously, we could just get pinned there by the end of the week too. Obviously, lots of gamma there. Another big gamma level is 4,550, not that far away. Maybe we hit that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe we pull back into this area on Friday. By the way, take a look at the trend line there. We talked about that last Friday and over the weekend. Kind of coincides with that level, right? So a lot of technical levels there, as well as gamma levels with options. So that's what we're really watching right here. Again, triple Qs here continuing to hold up okay. Next big level is right around 390, and then of course on the downside, you take out this trend line, 20 moving average area, then it's down to 360 with this 50 MA, and then of course there's kind of a little bit of a pivot in there as well. So pretty simple there. Pretty easy levels to take advantage of. And then IWM never closed above our weekly level. It is above that right now, but we got to get a weekly close above it in order to negate that bar. But it's holding up okay. I don't see any issues right now with the Russell outside of that weekly close. The diamond here hanging in there up 1/3%. That looks like we're going to get a close above 345.73. So that could clear you up to 348. So no real issues there. At least not right now. Semiconductors back up again, up 1.8%. So those are holding up. We did make new nominal all-time highs, no new closing highs. We could make a new closing high today. In fact, it looks like we were going to. So new all-time closing high for the SMH. That remains to be holding up well. May have to come back down here and back test 150 at some point, but I don't really see any issues currently with the SMH, and we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. IGV getting a little overbought here. You got a nice pop off that 20 moving average, and we got a nice weekly close above this pivot, so that's a sign of strength. Next one is at 367. We're not that far away, but I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row up. Little stretch here in the short term, but it's holding up well. Moving averages are strong here, a little extended, but outside of that, I don't see really any issues. Currently, transports here, a little bit of a consolidation day, up just 3 points here. Nothing really problematic right now. And big level of resistance at 16,000. You need a weekly close above that to move higher, but I don't see any problems right now. All right, so let's get over here to interest rates. So the 2-year continue to bounce back. And we were down a little bit earlier, and now just kind of an inside day. So looking at Friday's price action, we had a nice rebound and just kind of an inside doji. There's no problems here. Now the problem, I guess, for bears right now is that you've backed off of that 5.08 area, and we have the FOMC next week. So yes, I believe that's on the 26th. So we have about a week and a half to the next FOMC. The Fed is going to raise by 25 basis points. So Fed funds rate will be, 5.25 area. So even if the 2-year pushes higher, it's not going to really put pressure on the markets unless it really takes off. I do think that eventually happens. But right now, unless we really start to bid up here, that 2-year yield is far enough away from the Fed funds rate, or will be far enough away from the Fed funds rate, that it shouldn't roil markets too much. So that's really what we're looking at right now. Outside of that, though, the yield itself is holding up good, and I don't see any issues here. 5 still holding above 4%, 10 holding this trend line here. Even if these yields do pull back a little bit more, they're not going to go that much lower. 30-year holding up a little bit better, so long end of the curve is getting a little bit more of a bid there. But once that breaks through 4, it's up to 4.2, maybe 4.25 is your next stopping level there. All right, over to housing. Guess what? XHB is green. Nothing new to say there. That's going to pierce double top. ITB is inside and still essentially making new all-time highs. VNQ pulling back off of our trend line there. We'll see how it tests 84. If it can't hold 84, then it's much lower. But if it holds that level, you could break through this and possibly get up to that 90 handle. So VNQ shaping up a little bit better. XLF pairing some of the losses from last week. We had that ugly gap down. Citigroup really good, or not gap down, but gap and crap rather. Citigroup pretty weak price action. Wells Fargo did reverse today. Morgan Stanley, Goldman was not that good either on Friday. JP Morgan was really the only okay one, and that's making new highs here. As soon as you closed above this kind of breakdown bar, it's been kind of off to the races there for JPM, and that's the only one I would be interested in owning right now. KRE, nice rebound. That's helping out the Russell 2000. Still under a little bit of pressure there around that 44, 45 handle. And then KBE holding up above 38 for now, so that is still okay for the time being. Broker dealers still consolidating at 490. That can go to 500 if it lets those moving averages catch up. Over to crude here, backing off of 77, 200 MA, retesting. This puts in a higher low. This gets interesting, right? So I've been a little bit on the neutral to bear camp on crude in the medium term. And there's still a chance it does fade. I mean, there's still a chance that we could fade through this level here. I know there's a lot of lines here. It's hard to see, but again, here's your weekly big trend line. Maybe we can just make this a little bit easier. So we're going to just do that. Okay, so there's your big weekly trend line. This is a weekly inside bar right there. And then there's your other weekly trend line, the shorter one. We're right into that little nexus right there. If you break this level, it's probably going into the 50-60 handle. But if we put in a higher low and we take this out, 76.69 on a weekly close, you're going to 82.50, 82.75. If you close above 82.72 on a weekly basis, crude's off to the races, the bottom is in, and you want to buy pullbacks. It's pretty much that simple. What that means for CPI, I could get into a whole discussion. In fact, we did do that on Wall Street for Main Street. Go check that out on Jason Burek's channel. We did that on Friday if you didn't check it out already. But either way, crude backing off a little bit here. If you're a bull, you want to see a higher low, and then you want to see it break this level on a weekly close. XLE flat to negative here today, so still struggling. Still don't love this on the weekly. Same thing with XOP, although it is scratching out again. OIH I do like, but it needs to do weekly consolidation. Nat gas here fractionally lower. Still just kind of holding this 250 area. Nice little 1-2 tail candles there, 2 test candles in a row. We're interested to see what this does tomorrow. If this can hang in there tomorrow, I think you can get a bid on Wednesday and possibly into the end of the week. All right, dollar index. It's continuing to languish a little bit here. I still think it gets a counter trend bid. It's at least into that 20-day moving average. At least off of the psychological $100 level, you'll probably get at least one defense of that. I think, though, medium term, this is still weak and still going into the mid-90s. So dollar still soft. It should get a counter trend bounce here in the short term, but pretty good move there to the downside in the DXY. And then gold here, you see just holding up. You know, you got a lot of resistance here that you broke down from. It's going to need to get through that. If it wants to go higher, silver pause day as well. I'm watching that for pattern. Same thing for platinum and palladium. I would love to get palladium a little bit cheaper here, but you know, it's a thinner metal, so it is difficult. Copper backing off, so down 2.25%. So a lot of supply right here. If we look on the weekly, you're going to see we went up into this red bar high, this breakdown area, and it did back off. Although you did have a nice thrust last week, we'll have to see, you know, how this pattern shapes up here. If you start to break back below 380, then it's down to 370 there, and then, you know, I really ultimately think it's going down to 340. But right now, just chopping around here, and we'll continue to watch that. All right, market's set to close here in a minute here, so bell should ring any second. Bitcoin here, again, no follow through, right? So we had that reversal Friday. It just did complete nothing burger Saturday, Sunday, and then today slightly lower. I don't know what this wants to do. It's still holding up just fine. Weekly pattern looks really good, looks really strong. And again, everything's kind of the same here. So if we get below, there's the closing bell. If we get below 28.5 on a daily close, that's a red flag. But really on the weekly, you got to get all the way down to 26,331 on a weekly close to negate that green bar. So there's a lot of room here for Bitcoin, but right now you've got a bull flag, and I don't see any issues here. So I'm going to continue to give that the upside bias for now. So Bitcoin looks fine here. If we start to break down, then watch 28.5. Really that simple. All right, so spiders here, lastly. Looks like a little bit of a dip here into the end of the day. Yeah, close it just below 451. So maybe burning out some of those late calls there. SPX 45.25 was a little bit of a gamma level intraday, so it looks like we got hit just ahead of the close there. But again, very, very light volume. Markets are asleep right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see similar price action tomorrow. And then remember, Wednesday, Tesla, Netflix, they will be reporting, and that should be market moving. So anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.